All right, so here's another freestyle video. Lord, help me to say everything that I'm trying to convey that you know is in my heart. Devil, stop blanking my brain and just be quiet. Lord, rebuke you in Jesus' name. All right, so I was reading Ezekiel, and remember how I was all like, yeah, no, I don't see where the big scary God is. Like, I don't get it. Well, I got to Ezekiel and I was like, oh, that's probably what people are talking about. I mean, they're talking about it all, but like, yeah, I was like, I don't get what the big deal is. Okay, when I got to Ezekiel, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not going down well in 2023. That's, yeah, no. It was literally like, okay, yeah, I have nothing to say. I have no rebuttal, only because there's nothing to say. Like, he's mean mad. And it's really not even so much that he's mean mad. Like, that is there. And he's been mean mad before. And it's very much, you could say, well, it's for a good reason and all this and that. Obviously, I believe it is. But here's where I'm at with it right now. Cause I'm like, yeah, no, this is, because I know y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's like I know the world. So it's not even so much like I can't cover for God. I don't have an explanation. But it's like I don't have an explanation because everything that could possibly like go under this umbrella has been eroded away. And I kind of was like, yeah, no, let me sit here. Let me sit here for a second so that I can figure out what is next after this. Because this is what people do when they realize that they're like backed into a corner, argument wise. They sort of try to like go and I don't know, they either like go into a denial or they put up a wall or they give up or whatever. But I like to just kind of go, okay, so yeah, no, God is what the Old Testament God is what we would call irredeemable. If we were watching a TV show, we'd be like, okay, well, this is irredeemable. Like, he's bad now, and I'm gonna stop watching. So I'm like, okay, so he's irredeemable, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, what does it mean that we cannot redeem him? We, like, human society judges God as uh, just too much. You can't, punish people, because what I realize is like, even when you go, okay, well, they did bad and they agreed to do what was right and they did it. But it's like, okay, well, they agreed to do what was right and then they didn't. So now he's just punishing the crap out of them. Like, what is the incentive to be with somebody who's just going to punish the crap out of you when you don't do what was agreed? Like, then let me out of the agreement. I don't want to be in the agreement anymore. Like, I just whatever. But it's like, what does it mean? And basically, like, it doesn't mean anything that you judge God. Like, he's God. And then it's like, well, what is that? Yeah, that's the guy you want to worship. It's like, yeah, I kind of do. Like, part of it is like when you really get down to it, and I mean, this might seem like crazy and wild, but it's like the no, 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 he's not like that is not like, where is that road going down? That's gonna, like, is that winning people over? And winning people over, the specific people that I'm talking about that really are just kind of like, hey, open your eyes. This God is a tyrant, horrible person, hellion person. And it's like, okay, but who's over him? Like, are you going to report him to somebody? Like, you should probably just like do what he says. And then it's like, well, that's not, where's the freedom in that? It's like, I, you got to do what you wanted. Like, it's like, it's really coming down to like bare bones here. It's like, it's just smart at this point. Like, let's, because what these stories are is like worst case scenario. It's like, what's the worst case scenario if I follow God? Well, the worst case scenario is you follow God, but then like while you're on earth, you are drawn into all of these other different directions, and then um, you draw the ire of God, and then he you provoke him to anger, and then he literally like lets another country come in and attack you, and like you're under siege, and then like all of your babies starve. But like either your babies starve or you eat the babies or you eat other people until you can make it, um and then you just reflect on how far that you've fallen down, and then maybe the Lord relents, but you're just going to have to wait till he's done punishing you, and he's not done. And it's like, oh, well, I don't want that. I'm not going to do that. But it's like, okay, well, if you don't do that, then you're going to, all the same stuff is going to happen, and then you're going to go to hell afterwards. Well, this sucks. I don't want to be a human anymore. I don't want to exist. Like, it's just like, I think you have to get to a point where you're like, dude, you're cornered. Like, you have a choice, but the choices are bad if you don't want to follow God. And then it's like, blah, I hate that. That bad reviews, bad, bad. No, I'm shutting that off. I'm telling everybody how bad that is. I'm spreading how bad it is. That's bad. It's like, you haven't changed anything with that. That does not change anything. I'm team Satan now. I'm gonna go be on Satan's team. He lets us do whatever we want. Okay, and then he's gonna go where you're all gonna go to the same place. Like, I don't know what else. I don't know what more evangelism. This is the best evangelism I got for you. It's just to tell you the truth. It's like, I like, you get into the, like, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to feed into your doom and gloom like perception of it, because there's no need to. Like, if you're just a rebellious person, yeah, if you're just a rebellious person by nature and all you're going to do is just do the worst, you just, all your thoughts day and night are of evil, like, yeah, there's no hope for you. You're bad. It's going to be bad for you. I'm sorry. I don't know why you exist. And I don't know what the plan was. I don't know when at what point it could have been different for you or whatever. Like, I don't know, and I'm sorry. But just like all of the people out there who are railing against God because there's so many good, decent people out there that are getting, you don't care about the bad people. No one cares about the bad people. It's like, bad people are going to complain, well, they're bad. Dismiss that. But what about all these good people out here that are good and be doing good? He's just gonna just no, he's not gonna just he's just gonna just. The thing is, he can judge that within like tenths of an inch. Like, I don't know, he can judge it down to the molecule. So those people are going to go where they are supposed to go, and you don't worry about it. That's why he says not to judge. So um, I don't know how much we focus on the judge not, can also count for judging things that you think are right that aren't. I don't know. The emphasis is always on like judging harshly, judging negatively, judging things that are guilty. But there's a verse in particular in Ezekiel too about that. When the people are doing whatever they're doing that's terrible. And keep in mind, he also said at one point that like you've made Sodom look righteous. So I don't know how bad it got. I don't know how bad it got, but he said, Samaria and Sodom were their sisters, and they made Sodom look righteous by comparison. So that's crazy. So that's just to give you a little bit, let's say that you say there's no excuse for how bad a person gets, for how bad a people gets, for how corrupt it gets. I mean, what it seems like to me is that, if Israel got, or, Judah or whoever was left at the end, became literally as corrupt or even more so than the nations around it. But then also, he made a covenant with them that he would not destroy them. The only thing left to do is punish them, um, to the point where it just freaked out every nation that had ever lived next to them, because they're like, ooh, they really did not follow those laws that they're supposed to follow. Um, because there's a lots of reasons for that. Namely, it's like the whole point of this whole exercise is for God's um, presence, or God's like who God is, to be understood in the earth. And sometimes you got to understand that God will not hesitate. Or no, he does hesitate. Actually, he hesitates a lot. But when he's ready to, when he's over it, when he's been pushed to a brink, like that's, you really should not have let that it get that bad, like when it didn't have to. And it's like, well, that sounds like battered women syndrome, blah blah blah. It's like, listen, what are you gonna do, sir, ma'am? You gonna do something different? This is the God of the universe. Like, if you like this, like you gotta still keep all of that in mind if you're gonna entertain the thought. If you're gonna entertain the thought, and as soon as you entertain the thought of God being real, then you have all types of questions, and um, you know, you would never serve a person. It's like you're not hurting him by doing that. Like you are in a roundabout way, but it's like you're the one that needs breath to live, sir. You're the one that needs water. It's just not wise. Like, to me, it's like, okay, let's take away all of the sentiment, all of the good stuff, all of the whatever, which also is not talked about enough, because people are so deluded, and they so assume that all the good things just exist, and they don't belong to anybody. They just are there. And so, the entitlement is already through the roof. When we all know, if war came and everything was destroyed in a matter of days, that the person who is giving you food and water wins all of your affection, love, and trust. Like, but because like we're in like the charade that is happening right now, like we live in a constant state of charade, down to our political whatever, even leaders. That sounds weird on the mouth now. What Down to our political situation, where people are just grandstanding, and it's like you have got to get back in touch with yourself as a human being. Like, we can't just be out here arguing on the street incessantly about God. Like, that this will come to an end. So, the Christians are out here doing their best. Sometimes they're watering down. And Ezekiel is the one, or was it Jeremiah? I think actually Jeremiah. Jeremiah was the one where there was a lot of "Thus saith the Lord" when the Lord didn't say it. It's kind of interesting. They all kind of have their themes. It's like Isaiah feels like there was a theme with that, and it was very much about, um, I don't know. I feel like the theme of Isaiah was like God. the prophecies about Jesus and all were all in Isaiah and stuff. They're everywhere, but some big ones where it really like he gets down to like things in Jesus's life that happened. Those things are in Isaiah. And this it was very much like distant future, but distant future in the sense of like, it won't always be like this here. Like that's very much what Isaiah was like. Even when it says like he tells Isaiah, God tells Isaiah like I'll make you um a prophet to the Gentiles. Like he could not have known what that meant. Like it's just huge, like huge mega balls prophecy in Isaiah. And then Jeremiah was very much like a different theme. It was like, they were about to go into exile. Israel had already gone into exile, and Jeremiah, it was very much a denial. Like, no, we're going to hold on. Our legacy, it's very much like probably where America is right now, where we're just in denial about how bad it is and how everything is just like the time to turn it around is like gone. Like, it's just like, but they weren't really trying to turn it around. They were just like, we can't die. Like this will go on forever. There'll always be. It was just like holding on to old like legacy things that God himself like didn't even keep those things. He punished those people, but I don't know, they just thought that God would never do that. Because in their mind, they're putting all of the I'm assuming, but they're putting all of the prophecies together. They're putting all the words together, the stuff that they know, even though they don't practice it anymore, even though they didn't take heed to that stuff. It's like they want to take heed to the good stuff and none of the curses and none of the consequences. But so it's like God won't destroy Israel. God won't let Israel fall. And they didn't know how far, and you never know. You don't know how far God can take it. You don't know that God can hold your soul in his hand and destroy everything around you and still have kept his promise. You're just like, God's not going to let my, whatever he said. So it's like he can still keep track of every last one of y'all when you go out to the exile, whatever exile he's got you doing. He can still keep track of y'all. Like they weren't really thinking that. They just really thought he's not going to destroy us because of like his promises. So they were basically kind of like, I don't know, the way that we do the once saved, always saved now. And so there was a lot of thus saith the Lord, people prophesying good, happy things. And Jeremiah was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna, no, that's gonna happen. And then they locked him up because that's what he was saying. I'm not actually not finished with it because I was like, I need to go back because I didn't have my chart in front of me. So I wasn't quite like knowing who was doing what was going on. And, once the kingdom of Israel and Judah are gone, they keep track of stuff, but it's not quite the same as when there's kings in Israel. But so I'm like, okay, who's doing what and what? So I gotta like go back and I gotta fix my chart. I still got more charting to do. But anyway, and then now I'm in Daniel, but I just finished Ezekiel, and which has got a lot of tedium in it too. But it was harsh. It was harsh. It was harsh because God was going into detail of what they were going to be going through, and like, and I'm just thinking, man, like they're getting the brunt of something that was built up with people who were dead and gone, which is why another reason why it was confusing for them, or I don't know, confusing in general, this idea that, and that's where it says the soul who sins shall die, and God is like, he is clarifying how that system works. But I think part of the reason is that they weren't, it's not like they weren't like turning back to God. So it was like if they had turned back to God, maybe he'd have relented. But then at the same time, like even I remember when Josiah was king, And Josiah, like, he was the one that found the law, and he cleared the place out, and he got everything up and running. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm still doing all of the stuff that I plan to do. It just won't be in your lifetime. So, like, he spared him. And then there was another part. This might have been Jeremiah. Now I don't remember. I got to go back. But there was a part in Jeremiah where he said something like, God was like, if you find me one person that doesn't, whatever the things were, it was like one person that deals honestly and doesn't, I don't know, whatever, defraud their neighbor or whatever. Like, I won't destroy the city. He was like, find me one, which is probably the reason why he said that, Sodom was more righteous, because Abraham asked for 10 and he was scared to ask for the 10. So God literally is like, find me one person. So, yes, he was dealing with a lot. Yes, Israel was very bad at that point. They were doing bad stuff. And yes, part of it, I think, while God is bringing it about, I think a lot of us would look around and say that this was a natural result of, whatever you're doing. Like, this is a really weird example, but I think it's fitting because, like, I just watched a video about the writer's strike and all this stuff, and how basically like Hollywood is imploding. But like, when you look at what has caused Hollywood, and I think it's just going to crumble and fall for similar reasons, because you've got this thing that is not even like integral to anyone's life. Like, everyone will openly, I mean, it's clear, it's obvious, and also that's just the general opinion about it. No one needs movies to live, right? But we like it. It's good for the soul, whatever. And we're into it. And this is America, where things are run on profits. Okay, well, when you undercut that for like 10, 12, 15 years, where you're preaching to people, you're trying to shove values down people's throats that they don't like. When they have something to say about it, you just tell them that they're the wrong type of person, and you're making movies for their children, so that when the children will replace them and they'll have better values, and you're brainwashing, ha ha ha. And then you're putting things on the screen, you're using old beloved stories, you're changing them and making them nonsense. You're doing things that the people that watch them don't appreciate, and you're telling people, you're preaching to them about, well, it's never about this, and now you're mad because you're not, it's not for 12-year-olds. It was from when you were 12, not now, and you're just mad because a girl is doing it and not a guy, and blah blah blah, and just whatever, right? Because you're the big, it's like, move on. We're, this idea that the movies now are the thing that dictate what life is going to be. And it's like, and everybody's just looking around like, we can hear them. Like, do they not? So being delusional, and then you're putting out stuff that is just genuinely garbage. And then you're doing diversity hiring. You're not even hiring the best people. This is something that needs the best people. Like, by and large, you need the best talent out there. And for a long time, that's gone by the wayside in private, both in private and in public. So the diversity thing we all kind of knew was just, some open thing that they could do in public to make people feel better. And yeah, maybe they'd hire you and let the show be crap or whatever. You're not good. No one can tell you, because you're sensitive about it, because you'll just scream whatever discrimination and bring lawsuits. So they got to just deal with you being there. And then, but the studio heads that are making the most money, they don't care. They'll just put out garbage, try to make their money back, and move on. Like, to get so eroded and so greedy and so out of touch and so diluted that you are now like crapping on the things that make people feel, that make people, these old stories that were fine before you came and did what you did to them. And just ruining things and desecrating things that people have grown up with, and just not treating them with integrity and just being like, what, just doing a cash grab on just anything. Oh, but those people, they'll just eat it up. They love that. They love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Let's just put another one of those out. They'll just eat it up. We'll make our money back. It doesn't matter. We'll make our money back. We'll make our money back. We'll make money on it. People will go see it. It doesn't matter. And just putting out garbage, and just doing this, just going down this road. Just going down this road and literally going in with basically monsters, either monsters professionally, monsters personally, but they're making the money, they're raking it in. They know they know the whatever, they know the movers and shakers, they control the this and that. So you got to deal with it. So you're dealing with garbage, you're doing all that stuff. And then it's time for a writer strike. And I remember the first writer strike, or not the first, but the last writer strike that happened before this one. I remember distinctly because I had applied to USC and I thought I was going to go to school out there, and the writer strike was on. And so it's very much part of my memory. But it was hilarious when I turned around and they were talking about writer strike in 23, bro. I was like, oh, this is so not the year to do a writer's strike. Oh, 2023? Oh, no. 2008? Yes. Let's renegotiate. But even that was the dawn, the boom of reality TV. Because they were like, hey, listen, we'll just go around with a camera and start filming people walking around and getting drunk. Like, they were all, this is their industry that they work in. So they were busy trying to drive a hard bargain, and they were like, listen, we'll just put some garbage on TV and put commercials in the middle and we'll be fine. What are y'all going to do? That was 2008. So what do you think their attitude in 2023 is? It's like, this is the people that you put your hat in the ring with. This is the people that you trust with your livelihood. These are the people that you give your work, money, time, sweat, and tears to, because, yeah, no, they're not going to give you love. They're not going to hold you to any type of standard, and you like that about them. But this part is a little bit tough, but, the rest of it you like. So you deal with them. So you've made a conscious decision. I'm going to put my hat in with Hollywood. Like, I don't love Hollywood. I don't have any like devotion and honor to Hollywood, but they pay my bills. I do work for them that I love and I enjoy, and they pay me money, and we're just gonna have to negotiate, and it's tough and it's hard, but we're whatever. We'll reach an agreement. Really, because they cut the tops of the trees off so you'd be hot AF while you're out there protesting, to just discourage it altogether. Those are the type of people that you're trying to reach an agreement with. They cut the top. I mean, these trees look like they didn't look like young trees. The trees that were shading you while you were out there with your picket fences. Yeah, it was the pettiest, most evil, shrewd, diabolical, satanic thing I've ever seen, is to see them trees just cut down to nothing. Just bald broccoli stems outside. Because they're not trying to hear what you're talking about. And now the beast is rising up out of the sea and is going to do everything for all of us. Like, you picked the wrong year to try and get your... So it's like this did you consciously make this bed for yourself? Yes and no. Did you like team up with the devil to make this happen? Yes and no, because anytime you do something that is not of God, that's not good, that's not perfect, that's not even in the vein, as close as you can get to perfect, is as close as you'll get to something with integrity that you can stand on that has good results. When you start doing anything because none of it matters, and why are we adhering to these old hierarchical, patriarchal, whatever rules, blah blah blah, and you take for granted like all of the things that have held in place and will still probably hold in place are so good and right and the right thing that they'll hold in place 20, 30 years down the line, even after you've abandoned them. And then you'll figure out, like, no, even then you'll be like, well, what's happened? What's the deal? Because blindness is also a big symptom of going down the wrong path. Blindness and hubris and all of these things that keep you from being able to even fix the problem that you just become cancer and you're just producing. Well, I don't know what's going on. Maybe we should produce more. That's like the only thing you can think to do. So you just become a tumor. Like, so now the writers are trying to appeal to the people. And another thing is like when the people were, locked up in their homes by their tyrannical governments for, a particular reason that happened. And Hollywood was out there telling people like they just need to stay home and, like we want to work. Just stay home and save lives. And so now they are really appealing to people and being like, can you believe that we can't get paid for our crappy ecosystem that we've created? That all of the crap movies that we've shoved down your throats in literally since the last writer's strike? Like, this is inhumane. This is inhumane. This is terrible. How could they? And it's like I'm like, wow, they really don't see that it's over because they really trust in this system. They trust this thing that has not really done that much for them. It's like, they're like, well, there's going to be some justice here in a second. And there's going to be, this can't go on forever. It's like, sis, the AI is here. The AI is already writing down your experience and incorporating it so it can make a show. What are you talking about? It's over. Like, they don't even know that it's over. Well, the writer's strike is 110 days. And we're all sitting with popcorn because like y'all can't work, so all we can do is watch y'all. And then we've got tens of thousands of nonsense content from the last 50 years to keep us busy until y'all go back to work, which will be never. Like, so it's like that situation seems sort of irreligious. It seems like there's no morals there. But it's like, if you just examine that, it's literally the same thing that happens that, it's like there is a natural progression. There is a natural thing that happens that is just consequences to things. And I don't know why people don't see them. Like, I don't know why they don't see them coming, like from afar off. Like, at least get into it and be like, hey, this isn't working. Let's do something different. But to just like plow down a road for so long. And then here's this harvest. You're reaping this harvest, reaping the harvest. And it's like, what is this? Wow. It's like this really strange thing. And so I feel like that's the same thing that's happening that you see in the Old Testament. And it's there as a record for people to study. But yeah, like towards the end, God was not having it. But and it seems like, well, man, this is what he does for people who follow him. It's like, yeesh, but they weren't following him. But the thing is, it's like they had agreed to something and now they were tied to the consequences of it, even though they didn't even want to be a part of it anymore. And they were like, I mean, literally, it was before Ezekiel. It was, I think it might have even been Isaiah. Like the prophets, and this was like Israel. It was like Israel was just about to go in exile. And the prophets would go to them and to the kings, and the kings would interrupt them and be like, I didn't send you. I don't want to hear anymore. Like they were like, hey, listen, Like the prophet would come and be like, this is what the Lord says. And they're like, I don't care what the Lord says. So now what do we do? So that's where the people were like 100 years, maybe 75 years before the final exile. So, but God was like, hey, listen, I made a covenant. I can't abandon you. It's like, okay, great. I want to be abandoned. But you're not safer just because you're abandoned. You're not safer because God uh, lets go of you and leaves you alone. You're not safer. Like, um, and you might think so because you've got all these other nations around that aren't uh, they weren't obligated to God, but they also weren't as bad as Israel was in terms of conduct. Like they didn't do, which is really interesting too. And why is that? And even if you said, okay, well, Satan is trying to break up the kingdom of Israel, it makes it even more strange. If you are going by what we consider moral and this and that, it just seems like, um, yeah, it just seems, well, what's up with that? And I gotta say, like, I understand, but at the same time, I understand what people are saying about that, but um, maybe also because like I don't put myself in the place of like people who just want to be immoral. It's like, well, what if we just want to be immoral and do our own thing? Like, what's God going to do then? If like, what if we want to go off and do stuff that He doesn't approve of? Like, like I'm not thinking of like that because I'm not one of those people. Like, I love God, so this is like I can't relate. It's not my problem. But like, um, and like, do I need to have sympathy for people who don't intend to obey God? It's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking, wow, it's like it's a lot of y'all. That's a lot of people who like aren't gonna who are gonna be suffering because they don't understand and they don't acknowledge that all good things come from God. They think they can go off to another place and still enjoy their lives. It's like, yeah, but that's a temporary, like that's God's grace doing that. Eventually, He's going to take all that stuff back for Himself, and no one's going to get to enjoy that. Like, this is the trial time, this is the sample time, and all you're doing is taking the samples and giving them to your boyfriend or whatever. It's like, no, that like you have to choose God. And it's just like it's a harsh truth, but all truth is harsh to us. Like there's no like um the most what seems like it would be the most harmless truth like gets people in an uproar. Like I wish I could think of like because there's a specific example that I just recently saw and I was like, wow, this has nothing to do with heaven or hell, but it's just true and people are freaking out on a person. What was it? What was it? Like they really freaked out on somebody. Oh, it was the airplane lady. The airplane lady that saw the thing in the plane. And she was just like, that MF is not real. Okay. That has nothing to do with Jesus. It has nothing to do with heaven, hell, nothing. She's trying to do something nice. If there was a creature in the back of the plane and she noticed it and nobody else, and that thing was undercover, she was the beacon in the darkness telling people, yo, y'all can die on this plane if you want to, but I'm getting off. That thing back there ain't real, man. And she is getting death threats to this day. Why? Why? You can't even alert people to something that's happening. And even if it was like, I understand that she could just be like having a bad day, or not that, but just the fact that it was a hoax or not, it didn't pan out. The person was totally real. Okay. All right. Well, she inconvenienced the flight. And that's why people are scared to speak up about stuff that's real. Because it's like, this whole thing's going to have to reroute because you think you saw like someone's eye like blink this way instead of that way. And now the whole plane's got to be rerouted. But it's like, what if she had been right? And what if every single person on that flight had died and no one lived to tell the tale of what actually happened? What if she thwarted something that was going to happen because she did that? And now nothing has happened where something could have happened. Like, but it's like you cannot, people do not respond well to anything like this. Like the truth that will save your life, people just do not like it. They don't like it. It doesn't matter what it's about. So even if it's about God, like especially, I don't know if it's especially, I don't know if it all gets the same treatment, whatever. But like, all I know is like, if God is God and he's the only way, like it really doesn't make sense. Like you would acclimate to anybody. The writers in Hollywood acclimated to Hollywood. They don't love Hollywood. But even now they still can't believe that the system that was taking care of them is now leaving them out there to die. They're still trying to negotiate. They're in denial. They can't believe it. They trusted, that's trust. Maybe there was no love there, but there was trust there. So God will never do that to you. Like if you linked up with God, you're getting all the benefits of God, you're getting all of the good stuff of God, but he says, here, stay away from all of these things. That's why it's so often akin to a marriage, because of the integrity to it. But even if it was a marriage of convenience, like these people have with Hollywood, like you have with your drugs, like you have with whatever else, and it's just a marriage of convenience, and you don't have to worry about fidelity and trust and all of these things that don't come easy to you, that you don't want to be penalized for because they don't come easy. Okay, well, you just got to worry about your thing that you've linked yourself up with just completely just leaving the bottom out from under you without any warning. Like, and then having nothing. And then also not realizing that they were in debt to something higher and now you're being sold off to something else. It's like, don't do that. Just be with God. God at least has grace and mercy. You might be able, there might be some more wiggle room than you think there is. But you've made this decision like prematurely because God is in charge of it all. It's like, just, it's just like, let's be logical. Like it doesn't matter if you think that's like, wow, that's your argument. Wow. It's like, yeah, wow. Like, but to me, it's just like, it's more proof that everybody is going to be where they're supposed to be at. Because if that's not enough to like, because all of that counts, the decisions that you make count. That is faith. What is faith? It's the evidence of an unseen thing. If you're going, listen, God's my best bet. Like, he's not my favorite, but if he really made this whole thing and he's in charge of the whole thing, like, it doesn't even make sense to go someplace else. Like, I might as well just like hedge my bets with God, make to see if the grace and mercy covers up any of my nonsense. And it's obviously the safest place, because if he's in charge of all the good stuff, literally everything that's good down to like water and air, then what am I going to do? I got to go with God. Like, for goodness sake, like, I don't love it, but am I willing to love it? I guess, but I just don't see how it's possible. Okay. That counts as something. You're treating him as real. You're treating him with faith. You're applying your faith to a situation. If that is the best you can do, actually, that's pretty good, actually. These people just walking around like they haven't heard anything are toast. But you evaluate, you consider, you sit down logically and count the cost, like, you're going to see something. Like, that's great. Do that. That's my, that would be my recommendation. But just to kind of be like, oh, well, la la. It's like, no, he is scary. But like, read some more of the fine print. Find out exactly what you got going on. It's like, oh, well, but he won't. He says he won't leave or forsake. He says he won't, but it's like, stop acting like it's about good deeds and just, okay, I'll just pretend to be good and he'll be happy with me. It's like, okay, you didn't even read is what you're saying. Like, don't just be flippant about it, or don't be willfully ignorant about what is going on and who God is, and just think, oh, well, God likes good stuff, right? It's like, have you ever been to school? You've been to school and you've been next to somebody in school who did not study, and it's like, hey, what's the answer to number 2? What's the answer to number 2? And they want to know the answer to number 2, and you tell them it's B, and they put it down. Hey, what's the answer to number 3? They're really acting like it's like that person. It's something off about that. It's like, because you don't want to give them the answer, not because it's not just because, oh, it's cheating to give them the answer. It's like, so you just want to look like you studied. Just put some stuff down. You didn't care all the way up to the finals. You didn't care. Now you're going to come in here. You don't even have the courage to put down whatever and just leave it up to chance. Because that's literally what you did with your entire semester or whatever. Now you want to like get the right answers. Well, yeah, I got to get the right answers so that I can like move on. But it's like, but you don't care about moving on. Because if you cared about moving on, you would have applied. It's like, well, yeah, but it's just like, there's something hypocritical in it. There's something, and it's not bad for everybody else. It's bad for them. It's like, there's something that you're not seeing because of what you're doing. So like, everyone hates to be next to that person. It's like, don't be that person. Don't be that person spiritually, because you're not getting away with nothing. It's like, even if you're getting away with something in the natural, as far as like cheating on all of your tests, you're not getting away with something. You're prolonging, something that's going to cause you so much pain and heartache later in such a profound way that's going to just like exponentially, it's just going to be some crazy like spiral that occurs in nature looking thing of just devastation. You're just putting it off until it becomes like this beautiful firework of disaster. So no one is getting away with anything. And like I literally looked on the shelf and there's a book called Is God a Moral Monster? And it's actually a really good book and really lays out some stuff. But there's going to be some people that are not, there's some things about God that you're not going to be able to get past. And that's not just, oh, the weirdos. I'm sure there's stuff about God if I was determined to feel like he needed to get past me because I had like some ego moment, it was like, I simply can't get past this. I don't have anything like that because I'm not like, I get it. Like, I know that I'm ridiculous and that, I know the day one without food, I'm going to be that person's slave. So I have no illusions. But if there's things about God, it's like, well, I simply can't get past that. You should have some of those things because God is real and he's like super big, up high, big guy. So, like the decisions that he makes, like you shouldn't understand them all. Like, no, there's some things that should strike you as absolutely preposterous. There's CEOs right there out here right now, just CEOs, just, people in seats of power, just, presidents of nations, countries making difficult, tough decisions that don't satisfy everybody. So imagine God. People are mad that they are here at all. And somebody said something really interesting, like just in passing, because they were like talking about like God existence and how like if you want to like take up a case of God for like creating people or whatever or being here, it's like, well, you can't really do that because no matter what the process is, you want to say it's God, you want to say it's evolution, like something created you. Like you're here regardless because of something. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. You really can't lay that at the feet of God, because if you're here at all by whatever means, whether you think it's evolution or God, like you can't be mad that you're here, or you can be mad about it, but you can't make that God's fault, because something would have brought you here if it wasn't Him. So there's something else that you're mad about, and it's not that. It's that you're here and you have to account. You have to make a choice. You have to be. People want to be godlike in the sense of having the powers, but they don't want to like take responsibility for their existence, which is like step one, probably, of being, if you're going to be godlike in any type of way. But yeah, so this was also rambling, but that was the point. And I actually got to say some things that had kind of been knocking around in my brain. But yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to title this video. It's going to be something probably incendiary, if I even decide to post it. Anyway, okay, I'm done.